On behalf of the committee and the CFI, welcome to Deeside Gliding Club.
In this video, this is what we're going to cover, some of the things. Site rules, airspace, navigation, you've got to have some kind of moving map here. Emergencies, let the duty instructor know what's going on, he'll look after it from there. Dogs more than welcome on the airfield. Clear up after them because not everyone likes dogs, unfortunately. Consideration is a large part of what we need to make this airfield run properly. Drive slowly on the track. It stops crap going all over your gliders. If you see somebody driving quickly, have a word with them. Specifically, this area marked, don't park there. It really causes issues. If you've got a glider, park somewhere else. Top tip, get to the end of the runway. Once you have landed, get off the runway. Try and keep the runways clear. When we're operational, don't tow down the runways. Okay, this is a Boyne airfield from the air, from satellite. North is up here. East is this way, that's a Boyne over there. South that way, west off into the mountains that way. What you'll notice from looking at this is a really confined airfield, probably compared to what most of you are used to working. We've got the two runways, the north runway, south runway. Parking area up here, there are normally going to be glider trailers here, gliders rigged here. It's very tight. So first and foremost, to make maximum use of the runways, what we're going to ask you is when you land, get all the way to the end of the runway, and that leaves runway behind you for the next guy coming in to land. If you'll notice, there are two yellow lines here. Ideally, we're looking for you to roll beyond these yellow lines and stop in this area if we're operating to the west, and roll beyond and stop in this area if we're operating to the east. If you can't manage it, get somebody. If you can't manage it at all, then practice with one of our instructors until you can manage it. If you've had a whoops and you haven't made it, then get your buddies to get you off the runway to clear that runway as quickly as you can, please. And then in those lines with clearing the runways, if you see somebody has landed on the runway and they're in a nice area, give them a hand to get off the runway, clear the runways. That's what we're looking for. Get the runways clear as quickly as possible. We don't have the space for 20 gliders to come in and randomly park anywhere around. You're going to be coming in, landing on the runways. So give guys a hand to get themselves off the runway so you leave as much space as possible for guys coming in behind them. Car parking. Now, why we're on about car parking is because this tow down track is relatively close to the north runway. If you park in this area, you're going to cause people towing down to the west with gliders to deviate around you, come around here, they're going to impinge on the north runway before they get back in the track. So don't park there. If you've got to park your car, get out of the way there, get out of the way there. If you've got to park a glider, park the glider back here, or take the glider down there and park it. Otherwise, you're going to cause people to block runways with gliders being towed. When we're operating from the east end, which isn't very often but does happen, that's an extremely restricted area. So in that case, park cars and gliders over in this area, and you can use this area here to park gliders as well, and then we'll stage you onto the runways and take off that way if we need you. But try and keep the tow down path as clear as you can and park with consideration out of the way, either off over there, down over here, or in this area there, and that'll help things out a lot. Okay, runways. We've got two runways, north runway and south runway. So the north runway is for launching. So the way you're looking at this just now, that's north, south, east, west. So this is the north runway. And that's normally the launch runway. So if we're operating to the west, we'll be lined up here and we'll launch in this direction. And if we're operating to the east, we'll be lined up here and we'll take off that way. The south runway is generally for landing. So try and land on the south runway. The yellow lines here don't indicate anything on these runways. All they're doing is indicating the cross onto the grass strip here. So yellow lines here, yellow lines there, there. Don't use those for reference points. They're just there to indicate where the grass strips are. We have a runway here, 23. We tend not to use it now. In the event that you come back and you find that the north runway is blocked, south runway is blocked, and there are people littered around in this one, by all means use it. You know, that's what it's there for. We keep grass cut. We don't use it by default, but if you need to use it, fill your boots. When we're launching, if we're launching off to the west, try and get forward signaler a bit here so the tuggy can see them. Again, launching off to the east, try and get a forward signaler. If there's lots of people around, delegate somebody off as forward signaler. On landing, said it before, gonna say it again, get to the end of the runway if you can. This doesn't mean touchdown here doing math knows what and screeching off the end in a shower of sparks and broken fiberglass. It means touchdown here, roll nicely off to the end of the runway. It says in the official notes, for every foot that you are short of these lines, you owe the CFI a measure of malt whiskey. Now he's a very nice CFI and he doesn't take you up on that, but try and stop in this area. Not in a shower of sparks and mangled fiberglass, but stop in this area if you can. If you can't, get somebody to give you a hand and get off and clear the runway. Okay, circuits. So, normal day. This is looking north again. You'll get used to that view. The wind is going to be from the west, somewhere on good day it's from the northwest, from a good and sporty day it's from the southwest, from this direction in. So looking at the airfield and scrolling around, and if you get sick when I'm doing this, that's a damn shame, you'll see that if the wind's from this direction, from the northwest, you'll be doing a left-hand circuit and you're going to trundle down this ridge. See the ridge? So there's a woodyard here, there's a ridge here. How we tend to set it up is if you're at about 1,000 to 1,500 feet ish, high keys the woodyard, trundle down this ridge, do your diagonal, come round. Notice how close in that pointer is, come round and land on the south runway. If the wind is from the south, you'll be doing a right-hand circuit, which is down here. Now there's also a ridge that runs down here. This is Scar Hill, which you can see behind the clubhouse. Kind of set up high key around the grumpy guy with the horses. Trundle down the ridge, do your diagonal, come in and land on the south runway. It's easy. When it's windy, and it quite often is windy, as you do your diagonal here, there's a hole. Be prepared to dump the circuit and come around and land in on the south runway. If you need to, land on the north runway. But if you get into a hole with sink there, truncate the circuit and come round. Conversely, from the north, if I can come round and show you this one properly, if you're coming down a left-hand circuit down here, as you turn diagonally here, there's quite often a hole in this area as well. Actively manage your circuits. Don't set off at 800 feet, way off over here, and trundle around and do your final turn at 300 feet out here. Actively manage your circuit. What the circuits look like. So this is the traditional BGA circuit on a right-hand circuit coming in. So if we've got wind from the southwest, this would be, come down over the ridge, do your nice diagonal, do your base leg, final turn no lower than 300 feet. That's important around here. Judge that, don't get low. Trundle in, round out, ground run, beyond the yellow line, no whiskey involved. These are the BGA circuit views. So at a Boyne, how we say this, if it's windy, if there's a lot of wind from the west and you're landing off towards the west, this is your circuit, nice and tight. On a nice benign day, this is your circuit. If you want to spend money on glider repairs, this is your circuit. So unless it's nil wind, don't do this one. Or unless you're very high. Very high is not a bad thing sometimes. So Roy's top tip on this one. If you find that you turn into wind and your ground speed is 0, bury the nose, get the airspeed up and actually move towards the runway. If you find that you're doing a circuit and the wind altitude at 300 feet is 60 knots and you turn and you point at 60 knots of wind, you're going to come down like a helicopter. That's not going to work. You'll notice your ground speed on your downwind run. If it looks like you're doing Mach 1, it's windy. Truncate the circuit. If it looks fairly normal, do that one. If there's no wind at all and you're very high, do that one. Okay, local low-level airspace. So where we are, sunny Scotland by the sea, you're in this area here. So as you can see around this, there's not too much airspace. There's stuff around Aberdeen, a bit of the airline showing up here, and restricted area over here, but that's not local, so we're just going to concentrate on this part here. So close to us, you have, this is the airfield here. Where you're likely to be flying if it's wavy is around the lochs, around this area. The Boyne village is here. And if you notice this line down here, that's Aberdeen CTA. That starts 3,000 feet above sea level, 2,500 feet above the airfield. And if you stay below that, you can quite gleefully trundle all the way over to here where you're running towards the CTR. We tend not to go east at low level. It's not great, there's not much clearance on things. But if you notice, from the lochs to there, not very far. If you're going south, you're going to run into the CTA again, or into this airway, which is down here, which is Papa 600. So I'll show you that in 3D, which is on this one, so you get some better view on what's going on. So this is the airfield, this is Wilson off in one of his wanders again. That's Aberdeen CTA. This is crossing area Alpha and Papa 600. And the base of this starts at flight level 55. This is crossing area Bravo, again on Papa 600, and the base of this starts at flight level 85. If you need to go into the CTA in Aberdeen, if you're above the base, below the top, you can get them on 119.055. Very accommodating, very nice, also very busy, so you might have to wait a while to get in there. So that's the local low-level stuff. Okay, medium level stuff. Flight level 100 to flight level 195. So looking at the 2D, you can see that Papa 600 is now closing off the east coast for us. And over here, you can see that we have November 560 showing up. Southern part of which goes down to Loch Tay, northern part goes up to Inverness. It's clearer to see in 3D, so we'll go into that. before you start getting up into this stuff, up above flight level 100, if you're not transponder equipped, we need to have an OTAM out. Those get issued the day before. Sant down at Portmoak issues those for us. There will be a notice on the notice board outside the office indicating what today's NOTAMs are, and watch those and have a look. So November 560, this one over here, it's in different colours, but it's all Class E plus transponder mandatory airspace. So to fly in this as a glider without talking to anyone, you need a transponder up and running. The guys controlling this are on 127.275. If you start listening to 127.275 out in this area as you're cruising towards it, you'll hear how busy they are, and you'll get an indication of what's going on there. The procedure for crossing it is you inform air traffic control that you are about to cross, and you tell them where you are. They will relate to the airway markers. There's one, go see, have a look at the map, it'll tell you what they are, and let the controller know where you are. He may ask you to squawk ident so you can see where you are. He may ask you to wear a squawk. So be prepared to change your squawk as you travel up towards this. Don't get up there not knowing how to change squawk in flight. It's embarrassing. You'll notice there's a little cutout here. This is the Gussie box. If you're flying out of Feshy, which is down around here somewhere, they have a letter of agreement to allow them to fly in this. As you're flying out of a Boyne, we have to treat this as part of N560, so it's Class E plus transponder mandatory airspace. Now, if you don't have a transponder and you want to cross this, you still can, but you need permission to cross it. You'll get an authorization, not a clearance, and there is a difference between the two, but you still have to ask. Legally, you have to have your radio license before you can talk to the guys. In practice, talk to the guys. Scottish are on record in writing saying they will never ask to see your license as long as you're using a radio for some legitimate purposes in the air. So this is where we are. So this is from flight level 100 up to flight level 195, medium distance around this. Okay, high level stuff now. So here we are, having a look down from satellite view. Have a notice of this box here. This is our local diamond box. So we tend to operate this one or open this one. If you guys are getting on well in the local area, we'll get this box open. What I do want you to notice is the size of this box. So you can see it there. I'll show you it in 2D. So here's that box in 2D. It goes up as far as Mossett, down towards Loch Mick, and it's not very wide. You'll tend to be climbing around the lochs in the northwesterly. That's the edge of the box there. The eastern side of the box is just by a Boyne. It's not big. Be very wary about getting blown out of that box. Be careful with it, it's quite small. Back to 3D. So you'll notice there's our local wave box that we tend to operate for diamond flights locally. There are boxes to the south. They tend to be operated by Portmoak. We can open them as well. And if you have a look, there's ones off to the north and they're operated by Easterton, but again we can get those open if we need to. And above all of those is this beastie here, and this goes from, so the local box is 195 up to 240, and then from 240 all the way to the moon there is this one here. Now we can open this one anytime we want, but it takes 2 hours to get it open. So if you're climbing well and you're coming up, get onto the office 130.105 and get this box opened in good time. Otherwise you're going to be parked underneath it at flight level 240, getting cold, waiting for the box to open. And the reason it takes 2 hours is the transatlantic stuff coming out of Amsterdam or London tends to fly over here. So we need clearance from Eurocontrol to get that one open. So do it in good time. Okay, so in addition to all the formal airspace stuff that's going on with the maps, outside the office, you'll see this board. We've got Charlie Jordan's Simplified Guide to Airspace and Wave Boxes. Worth a read, it's very good. Clarifies a lot of things that I've said in this video. This one's going to demonstrate what NOTAMs are actually in place today. And then down here you can see a picture of the NOTAM that we have in place. So this is outside the wave boxes. This is just for general cross-country flying. So the NOTAM will say the area and the time it's activated from and when it's active to. And in this map you can see the area that's been covered. You must have a moving map in your glider, and you must convince us you know how to operate the moving map in your glider. Okay, local airfield frequency 130.105, Scottish local 124.5, and Aberdeen, if you need to talk to them, 119.055. When you're at altitude, monitor 124.5.
So ahead of me just now is Ben Nevis. There. So that, going all the way up there, is the primary of Ben Nevis. And that over there, fuck knows what that is. However, top of Ben Nevis is at 4,000 and something feet.
So, from that, you really need a moving map. Legally, you also need to carry a paper map. Get them in the office. Talk to Scottish. Sometimes they've got nothing better to do than talk to you. So listen out for them, have a chat back to them. You'll hear that in the next clip.
Go ahead, Scottish, Glider Romeo Golf.
Glider Romeo Golf, just checking your distance, register radio check, how do you read?
Reading you 3 actually at the moment, we've got an echo there.
Okay, that's fine, thank you. Glider Romeo.
Okay, where to find wave? Do you spot the gliders? So you can see where people are. Ask the tuggies, ask some of the guys around. They'll tell you what's going on. Next thing to do is use Matt's SkySight program. So you're probably used to seeing this on sort of potential flight distance. So this is like the day after I'm recording this, and that's showing absolutely nothing for potential flight distance because the program's set up for thermal, but it does wave really well. So for an overview of what's going on, have a click on the 3 kilometer one and you'll see what's going on. Where you can see regular sync, and that's regular, it's all lined up nicely, there is lift. This is the west coast, but if it's waving on the west coast and there's a westerly component of the wind, it's likely to be waving on the east coast as well. So looking at where we are in this area, Matt's quite good at showing the cloud. So pay attention to where he's showing the cloud and then play the thing. Just run it through, see what's going to do for the day. And where you're getting regular gaps like this, that indicates there's going to be a wave. Matt's good enough to show the cloud coming in here. This is just sort of cloud at different levels. But that's showing decent enough wave there. Come through at 2 o'clock and trundling on from there. So to get an indication of what's going on low down, click on the 1.5, click zoom in, 1.5 clicks up, have a zoom into where we are. Airspace, remember the airspace, don't go east. This off towards Tarside, very good. You can't climb in it unless you've got transponder and clearance, so don't go there. But just south of the field, it's good wave, and over by the locks there's good wave. So around toe height-ish, you're going to get off and get into wave. So that works. For a look ahead on what's going on, use Synoptics. I use NOTAM folks. It gives me the NOTAMs in the morning, and it will give you a look ahead. So this one's showing Wednesday midday. The front hasn't come through according to that, which is a reasonable indication. And on the BBC, that's showing rain at 4, which agrees with Matt's program. So it probably says it's going to rain tomorrow at 4, but the rest of the day is working okay. So you're fine till then. So use the information you've got. It's very useful. So what's the wave like when you go? Well, I took this one a couple of months ago in the tug. Towed somebody up to 3,500 feet, went back to flight idle, and just faffed about, and look, flight idle and the engine's still getting 4 up on the tug. It's quite good sometimes. If you see some of us regulars outside standing on the benches doing our Zen Buddha thing and looking at the sky, and then going out 10 minutes later and looking again, this is what we're looking for. We're kind of doing mental snapshots on where the wave is. And if you do that, you'll see it, because the wave clouds don't move and the convective ones do. So try it yourself, it works a treat. So this is getting towards the end of the brief. So if you need a site check, go out to the office, speak to anyone out there, and we'll get a site check organised for you. And now you'll be happy to know, towards the end of the brief, we're going on to field landings. So, if you'll notice in Scotland, there's a distinct colour change between the east coast, here, the centre of the country, and the west coast. So over on the east coast, in this sort of area, the ground's generally flat, and you have many fields. Happy things. What you might not be used to is we have 0 buried power cables up here. All the power cables in Scotland are above ground. Be cautious of that on approach. You may have heard of, or you may have access to, Richard Arkell's field landing database. Richard's been dead for 7 years now, and he was a hang glider pilot. His view, and I'm a hang glider pilot, his view on an acceptable landing area probably doesn't match what your view on an acceptable landing area is. That database is out of date and a bit optimistic on landing, so be very cautious of using that. It may indicate where you can crash safely, but that's pretty much all you can get from it. If you're flying and you go west of this area, your options start to become limited. As you get to this area, you're going to be looking at a Bela around the Boyne, or Feshy, or if you've got a northwesterly, you can run down towards Portmoak, but you've got fields before you get to Portmoak, and Perth Airport. Over to the west, there are a couple of airfields around Skye. There's one here, there's one on the west coast of Skye. If you're getting really brave and you're out in the Hebrides, well, good luck to you. My pilot operating handbook states that if I have to land on water, I have to do so with the gear down and the brakes open. And I've read that because I fly over this area quite a lot, and I may have to use that if I really make a mess of it. Be cautious about getting west of this area unless you've got a motor to get you back. And even with a motor, they don't always start. On that happy note, we're now at the end of the briefing. So, 2 things that you need to do now. 1, yellow form, make sure it's filled in. Keep the tear off slip at the bottom. It's got your temporary membership number on it. You'll need that for your launches. The other one, our treasurer has told me, make sure you fill in your payment form at the end of your trip and show him how you want to pay. And that's it. Have some fun, safe flying. Any questions, ask any of the guys anytime and we'll help you out.